Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Saturday's anime stream. Let me know how the audio is now that there is audio. Anime stream, manga stream, whatever. We've got a few things to discuss. First up, Isayama has posted Cringe again. I know, incredible. At least according to Titanfolk, he has. So we're going to take a little look at that with this sort of new. I don't know if it was a proper interview or if it was like just some features in like another issue of Besatsu Shonen, I guess, because, you know, now that he's not doing chapters anymore, that, you know, he can still produce, I suppose, some kind of content for it. So we've got this Twitter thread, which I think covers some stuff, and then we've got the bastion of unbiased Attack on Titan news in the form of Titanfolk. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to move over and look at the absolutely incredible efforts, of Aotino Requiem, which is the fan-made rewrite of the ending of Attack on Titan. I've had a brief skim through. There's some interesting ideas, I guess, maybe, but we'll see. I think overall, though, we're gonna have a problem because I think it's very much. I can't confirm if it's explicitly being done, but led up by Jaegerists as the sort of the development leads for it. But I think it is definitely going down. From what I've seen, it is definitely going down the Chad Eren route. So we'll need to see. But this Isayama stuff should be interesting to start with, if only because it seemed to get folk quite upset. I'm going to turn this volume down just a little bit on the music. And folks seem to be quite upset with that. So we'll need to see what it is. So I guess this is the full source. From what I've understood, it's kind of like just a little thing charting Mikasa and Eren's relationship, I guess. Like, you know, we've got some significant moments here. So this is from like the choosing ceremony, where Mikasa had to carry Eren out after he picked a fight with Jean. Which bit's this? I can't remember. Is that her speaking to Ian Yeah, that's Ian Dietrich calling Eren her boyfriend or whatever. Which bit's this? I can't remember some of the older ones. Obviously here we've got when that visit to Marley with the ice cream. All good stuff. So we'll take a look at this thread courtesy of Goth Kasa's thing. Okay, gonna translate some of this. Mikasa continued. Oh, is there actually very little to translate here? Perhaps inside this? No. Okay, Mikasa continued to protect Eren even if she was far away. Its strength also due to the bloodline of Ackerman, human thoughts and kinship, the characters in similar to Attack on Titan from two perspectives. Yeah, the test is just recapping scenes from earlier chapters like the Hisu scene, Sai, when Eren controls the ODM for the first time, Mikasa throwing Eren. However, I swear there was more to this thread when I looked at it sort of yesterday when trying to gather it. Oh, they've just done a weird. However, now yeah, okay. So they've carried on from the first post. Okay, just bad Twitter having bad UI for setting up threads. The ice cream part in Marley is interesting. When they entered Marley, Mikasa was brought in the market for the first time. Because of the beauty of the two eating ice cream, the two people who didn't think about it may have been living like this. Cuts out, but from what the translate says, I think it's saying that this is what daily life could have been. Again, this is all just using translate. I wanted to translate it for myself, and just don't use this as a reliable source. Maybe it's not a reliable source. Okay. How the hell was any of this comedy? More on this chunky section. Childhood friend. A couple that remains in the history of the manga. Mikasa, who lost her parents being robbed when she was young, despaired that she had nowhere to go. And Eren lends, I guess, scarf and says, "Let's go home to our house." Instead, Mikasa's always had the scarf on her skin and walked in any situation he has passed, but nothing decides to be seen. When Mikasa is asked about her relationship with Eren, she says, "He's my family." Also for Eren himself, as Eren doesn't say his feelings for Mikasa obediently. No, the excessive fate. This is getting harder and harder to read. I feel like maybe we should move on to the Titanfolk one. Largely determined by external factors, Eren and Mikasa couldn't choose their birth, age, or best job, but Mikasa's choice to be with Eren is her own choice. In the rest between the tragic battles, people play with each other as if they understand each other's feelings. It was beautiful. We can't help but think there must have been a world where this was the daily routine. The question is not too sure of. Given the context, it might be the ice cream because of the daily routine. Interesting. Yeah, looking back, the last panel for page 5 is labeled as 5, and that's the ice cream scene. Maybe implying that in an alternative world where they didn't have to live with the war and tragedy, eating ice cream would be just one way that they would live their daily life. Thoughts on what okay, so there's a few bits here. Here's the mini parts. All the juicy stuff you guys want. The old manga panels translated too. Things that already happened though, like I mentioned earlier. Right. Mini parts translated. Sorry, class. Mikasa throws Eren away after the closing ceremony of the. After the closing ceremony of the training corps, Eren fights with Jean at a banquet. Intervening, Mikasa lifts and throws him outside. Later, she says that she wanted to be in the Survey Corps with Eren and said that he would die prematurely if he weren't with her. Middle of trust fighting. I already talked about this. This is the BF scene from season 1. Yeah, that's it. Ian Dietrich doesn't explicitly mention boyfriend in the translation. I think, at least from what I remember from the official translation that I've got, he doesn't mention it. But but it does definitely say boyfriend in the anime. So that may be where my confusion was coming in. Using ODM correctly, Eren explains to her that you won't have to take care of me anymore. However, Mikasa's interpretation of this through the surroundings guide maybe not explains, but I'm guessing you could just. After Hisu became queen, Eren changed Hisu by saying, "You're fine," while they walked together on the ranch. At the time, Mikasa on the top stood in the way. I can't read my emotions. From that expression, but that Eren changed Hisu line is a rough translation. It may. Whatever. Even though I'm an EM shipper. Oh god. So just to point out, even though EM is kind of the route that it went down, it's still not really viable as a ship because it was a pretty toxic relationship a lot of the time. Yeah, a lot of the relationships in AOT weren't exactly the most pleasant. They were generally quite a few of them were pretty toxic. Even though I'm an EM shipper, I'm not biased, so I need to translate everything as accurately as possible. Again, please understand that there may have been errors in my translation. There's not as much attention today. Okay, so that's cool. Ooh. Oh, it's Bacon being very nice. Okay, so this is the Zekken interview leaks. This is from 4 days ago, so I think this is the one that they were going a bit mad about. I've tried clicking on this link, and it did not take me to anything I understood. So we're going to avoid links and just go with what's here, and we'll have to trust that even though it's Titan folk, they've maybe got at least some idea of the translations down here. Okay. EMA represents wisdom, courage, and strength, not an order. Mikasa is the strength, because Yam thought it'd be interesting distributing a woman the role of Red in Super Sentai superhero team. I can understand that. I mean, you look at it, Mikasa is definitely the strength side of it. What about EMA been planned out all along, but Eren's "No, I don't want that" segment came to Yams when he was drawing the panels. Yams loves whiny Eren, so when he was drawing "No, I don't want that," he thought to himself, Eren is back. Based. Okay, so this is one of the things that I saw them going mental about. This line here, this Eren is back. I did catch that, you know. I got a little spoiler on the content here. Yams loves whiny Eren. That's because whiny Eren is Eren. So if we go back to season 3, or whatever you want to call it, Return to Shiganshina, everything prior to that, before Eren Yeager, 15-year-old Eren Yeager, I want to point out just in terms of where his emotional his emotional maturity is at by that point. When he touches his story in his hand, he then obviously gets all the visions, all the horrible visions, sees the horrendous future that he is going to wrought on humanity, and that completely destroys him. What we get from there for the next 4 years and the remaining arcs is a bit of a broken man, a completely different, a changed man's probably better. He's different. He's basically lost his sense of self. Eren isn't Eren anymore at that point, and the Eren we have seen, the Marley arc, and through the War for Paradis arc, and through the Rumbling arc, even though it's technically not an arc, but whatever, is not really Eren. It's a child who's been mentally tormented by seeing his own future and death, and the death of his friends, the death of most of humanity, play out in front of him with no choice. I mean, Eren is still 19 at the end, right? For him being fully emotionally mature makes a fair bit of sense. Is that meant to be so him not being fully emotionally mature? He just looked like he had it together. Yeah, I mean the whole thing is Eren's just putting on an act for the 4 years. He's slowly he's losing. You know, he goes into like the proper depressed, edgy, sort of depressed teenager stage at 16, which is like, you know, a perfect fit at that point. And that just basically takes him down like the nihilistic route that he ends up going down, because it's hard for him to care about anything when he knows what's going to happen in the future. And at every step in the way when he thinks something might change, it doesn't. Again, I don't know if he saw Sasha's death when he saw the future. When he touched Sori's hand, he might have, and that might have explained. The laughing can be explained either way. I have a feeling like he did see that coming, and that's why he was laughing, because he realized that maybe that's the point where he started to realize it couldn't be changed. But anyway, the Eren we see at the end, the whiny I don't want her to do that, even though it's a bit hyperbolic, I guess. It's Eren finally getting to be himself again after 4 years of basically living in torture, plus what probably felt like an eternity inside paths once he connected with Ymir via Zeke in the end of the second battle for Shiganshina. That must have been absolutely horrible. So yeah, he returns to basically the state he was in, and this is you know, getting what is it they called this one? Ellen Jaeger, I think. The previous one was Aaron Jaeger, and now we have Ellen Jaeger, the whiny incel. Yeah, I think that was always what Eren was. Eren was always immature, and then he was basically forced to comprehend everything, and that kind of ruined him a little bit. So yeah, no, I think this is totally fine. This is like legitimate, and like again, they're gonna say he was no, I don't want segment came to Yams when he was drawing the panels. This is going to be something again that's going to point to the fact that Yams is, you know, a fraud. He's just making it up. Doesn't have any plan. He does have a plan. It's just certain panels and certain ways of expressing certain parts of the literature can come in a stir of the moment sort of section. It's like part of a writing process. Some things can be planned out, some things naturally evolve, and some things just come in like sparks of inspiration. I think it maybe was a bit of a hyperbolic line, a bit over the top, but it was kind of necessary for. Or it wasn't necessary, but it was still good at conveying the. I'm just going to turn that light on a little bit so I get light in here. It was good at conveying Eren as sort of conveying that Eren is back to who he actually is before everything. Yeah, I have no contention with this as a concept. This is one of the big ones though that I think people think. Regarding the deaths of characters, Yams thinks from the perspective of an author, he can always show these characters in panels again through memory scenes, so he doesn't feel like, oh, these characters are dead. Edit 2, TL edition. One is to draw panels of past, future. Main characters are either all dead or haven't been born, so it's up to your own interpretation whether these characters are dead or not. That's an interesting way of looking at it, for sure. Isayama does make a lot of use of flashback. I mean, how many fucking times did we have to see that Marcel scene? It has its good moments and it's bad. But yeah, you know. And the fact that Paths kind of creates this sort of spiritual realm, and we've got to see Sasha at the end again. You know, she's been by that point she's been dead for God knows how many I can't remember what chapter Assassin's Bullet was. You know, she turns up again. We get to see all the old Survey Corps members on multiple appearances through flashbacks and so on. So yeah, you know, that's an interesting way of looking at it. They do continue to appear in the story. It's pretty cool. After reading chapter 50, EM's scarf scene, editors thought EM were going to kiss, but Yams felt shy drawing that, and he wasn't certain of his ability to draw their dynamics after the kiss. Looking back, Yams hoped he was more brave in drawing a kiss because Mikasa probably wanted a kiss. I've heard of... Okay, so this is the next one. As Yams got married and grew to gain more experience from life, he felt like he was able to express his personal growth in his work. I mean, that's only natural. Yams was quite young. How old was he when he started writing Attack on Titan? Because he's not... like he was... I'm pretty sure he was pretty young when he started doing it. E.g. the complexity of Reiner being tortured by guilt, those relationships on, and the others at the end. I mean, yeah, you can't deny it. Attack on Titan gets thematically stronger and the characters get much more complex and interesting as the story has gone on, not just from the fact that we've been around them for longer, but just because Yams improves as a writer, along with improving as an artist as well, throughout the series. So I think that's a pretty fair take. So yeah, so this kiss scene, I think they're going to cover a bit more here. So there was this the big thing that's kicked off is that when Mikasa was going in for the kiss with Eren, when they all thought they were going to die at the end of Clash of the Titans, just before Eren activated the coordinate, apparently Eren Yams apparently, I mean, the reading here is like the editors thought it was going to happen and Yams felt shy. I've seen the big meme that, oh, he felt shy doing this, but he didn't feel shy drawing death or drawing like Mikasa kissing Eren's head, even though that happened, years later. What I think the shyness was more meant to be is it wasn't just the act of the kiss, it was then trying to draw the following relationship afterwards. Because if they had kissed, the entire dynamic of everything following that would have changed. Attack on Titan would be the ending, some of the end results may end up being similar, but overall, Eren could still get the same stuff from kissing Historia's hand and all that, but the overall character dynamics would have completely changed for the rest of the series, not just between Eren and Mikasa, but between everyone. Jean would have been different. Armin would have been different. Those are like two of the big ones that come straight off the bat. How Mikasa's attitude towards Eren would have probably still been roughly the same. Eren might have even mellowed out. Who knows? But yeah. So that would have been quite significant. And if Yams felt awkward about trying to then depict an actual meaningful relationship, because he's been able, because people, I think I saw another thing about the whole Krista Historia Ymir thing, but at the end of the day they weren't in a relationship either. Historia never really said much, and then Ymir was just kind of pushy about the whole thing. So yeah, no, I don't know. To me, it would have completely changed the manga. It wouldn't have been just a minor thing. Like the entire manga would have been different if that had happened. Not necessarily for the worse, but it was a decision that he made. I think the manga was still really strong. The arcs that follow on from this are fantastic. So, Yams first got his inspiration from Mikasa from the client. He hadn't decided on the plot nor the main characters yet. Mikasa was originally going to be a Westerner, but after meeting his client who inspired him, he said her character was an Asian. That's interesting. But I guess everyone else is a Westerner then, so would everyone else have then been Asian and Mikasa would have been a Westerner? I know they're all Madagascar, but you get what I mean. Like, they're all very much clearly drawn from more Germanic roots. Edit 1. Even though SNK became sensation, that allows Yams to earn money. Yeah, they are technically African, which is actually an excuse I've seen to justify. And that was literally the only thing. Bizarro Africa. Well, Africa flipped upside down. Which is something I've seen to justify calling Attack on Titan racist at its core. Which was an interesting take because it wasn't substantiated by anything other than it's set in Madagascar. Which is a bit set in Madagascar, and Marley's on the mainland, and everyone on mainland Africa is white in the Attack on Titan universe. It was a very weird take. I saw it quite a while ago though. So I couldn't source it. Even though SNK became the sensationalized Yams money, he always feel like he's a loser. About his inferiority complex, he would tell himself, "No, I'm a genius." Okay, so that's interesting. Yams has always come across as quite insecure and quite hard on himself. His comments about the final chapter not panning out quite as he wanted to because he felt his own inadequacy in delivering the themes. Unfortunately, this bit here is going to get seen by a lot of chuds as a fucking ego boost, as like a sort of fucking ego thing that led to him to end up being shitter. But maybe it's hyperbolic in being hyperbolic here, but generally if you are suffering from imposter syndrome, like it very much looks like he has been this entire time, then trying to do anything to boost your own confidence isn't a bad thing. So yeah, we'll leave that as is. Anyone who's ever suffered from imposter syndrome knows exactly what this is, and trying to at least perk yourself up, especially if you can't. Especially Japan, they have a really bad fucking problem with talking about mental health and stuff like that. So he probably didn't have anyone he could talk to about it. So all he could do was try to reassure himself, because there probably wouldn't have been a support network. His fans would have been if he'd been open about that from the very beginning. And the thing is, you can tell he's been not the most confident guy for a very long time. But whatever. Even though the story of EM may have been planned from the beginning, a lot of plot details, actions by the characters were decided along the way of release. Yeah, this is how you write a fucking story. This is how you write a story. Obviously they're just translating here, but I'm just sort of maybe I'm preemptively straw manning what the comments are gonna. I don't want to read the comments, but yeah, this is just standard storytelling practice, especially if you follow the George R.R. Martin as sort of I've seen him in interviews quite a lot of times saying there's two kinds of writers, the architects and the gardeners. The architects plan everything down to the letter out ahead of time before they even start writing words, whilst the gardeners kind of naturally plant the seeds and then let the story grow from there. George R.R. Martin is a bit of both, for anyone who's interested, if you haven't read his works. So this is pretty much it. He had his initial sort of overlying sort of plan, and then he planted the seeds and just kind of let things naturally evolve. And I think you can see that definitely in a lot of the elements. And I think it's particularly fair when you see perhaps story elements that maybe don't go anywhere. It's kind of they naturally reach that point, but because you weren't pre-planning it, it just doesn't have a way to tie into the ending. So I feel like that's probably what happened to Historia. Yams had this plan for her in the Uprising arc, but then he didn't have a plan for how that would have her fit into the long-term story. So after that, she kind of just naturally evolved into not being a character, unfortunately, which is a real shame because Historia is one of the best characters in AOT. While drawing new panels, different plot points came alive and complemented each other. This occurred naturally. However, Yams didn't get this feeling inspiration while drawing Volume 4. Yams was in pain, this feeling of losing inspiration happening only a few times for him during the release of SNK. Volume 4. What arc was Volume 4? That would have been what, chapters 12 to 16? What? Really? Tross? Okay, oh no, here's Volume 4. My microphone just fell down. 2 seconds, folks. And we're back. Can you guys hear me okay? Is this audio still coming through fine? Okay, cool. Yeah, the microphone stand just literally, the clamp just fell off. Basically, it clearly wasn't clamped down tight enough. Okay, so Volume 4 was all the Trost stuff. The end of Trost, basically. Oh, and the Training Core arc as well. Interesting. Yeah, it's pretty cool how Training Core arc came straight after. But yeah, okay, so that's what that stuff was. It's cool. Yams loved seeing the reactions of readers online. At the beginning of releasing SNK, he nearly read comments from all readers. However, at a certain stage, there'd be a sharp increase in comments, so he couldn't manage to read them all, even if he wanted to. I mean, this is a pretty common thing. When anything gets popular, it becomes just too difficult to catch up. And I understand this feeling as well. Whenever a game I've worked on is released, I'm there reading every review, watching every YouTube video I can find, and reading every comment on those videos. So yeah, I get that. June 4th, Edit 3. Okay, Isayama-san, do you think SNK reflects your own personal values? I think it reflects my personal desire to express myself through destroying things. I'm not talking about destroying civilizations or annihilating mankind, but turning the world upside down. I think I was influenced by the work of Minoru Furuya, especially the ending of SNK. I think it entirely reflects my desire to destroy. I get a feeling this is gonna be taken out of context. In every way, even though like he specifically says that. And I'm not even just talking about like turning this into another Isayama is pro-genocide or whatever the fucking straw man's ECR. First, how the product of your desire to destroy has garnered so many readers, such a strong mangaka. I should say having the power to captivate people with your writing. I visited the Picasso Museum in France before, and Picasso's work is so packed with strong emotion that it makes me dizzy. Feel the same powerful energy from your work. This guy really likes Isayama stuff. Thank you. I actually had the painting Guernica hung on the wall in my old house. I felt fear every time I looked at it when I was young. Every time I passed by the painting on my way up the stairs, I felt myself so scary. Yeah, I'm obsessed with the painting Guernica hung on the wall. That is pretty creepy, to be fair. I can certainly see if where certain inspirations may have come from that one. Hiromu Sensei favorite character in SNK. Han exactly female Titan character. Not dying in vain. Kiyomi. Energetic foodie Sasha. Yomi Dai, technically. Sasha's first appearance with Data left Hirumi Sensei a huge impression. Enjoying SNK, I was hoping for Armin to come up with some solutions to stop the war, but I couldn't make it. Maybe I should have added more pages for the ending part. Now, is this interview... It's the second interview. Was this the interview that came out before he added more pages, or is him talking about adding even more pages? Which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I would happily go for another couple of chapters of Attack on Titan, detailing everyone's lives after the war. That'd be pretty cool. But I love seeing resolutions. Like, I'm one of those weirdos who really likes the 10,000 endings of Lord of the Rings, just seeing what happens to everyone, because I like getting my closure for all the characters. When the story comes to an end, it's a war, there's going to be people involved, trying to wrap up the war, and the ending is indeed a very difficult task. When I was drawing FMA, I thought a lot about how to handle the aftermath of the war. E.g. Hawkeye mentioned it. Apparently Full Metal Alchemist spoilers, I don't plan on reading it, but in case anyone else does. The photo at the end of the story doesn't show him smiling. This is his character that was responsible for starting the war. Can't easily let everything end and resolve in a wholesome way for Armin. The survived alliance, I think their jobs have only begun from there. Yeah, I'm about the ending of characters, i.e. their death. I have lots of thoughts about it. I understand. In a sense, we authors are actually using these characters. Some characters are going to die in the story. But it comes to that point, I would think I should give them a proper death, let them die in a meaningful way. I feel these emotions too when I read AOT. I can left out one part in his Baidu post. Yeah. Yes, I call the death of a character funeral. I try my best to allocate more pages to the death scene of a character, provide them with a casket of the highest quality, give them flowers so as to properly bid them farewell. Regrettably, I didn't give all my characters a fair treatment concerning their deaths. So, there we go. Do we have thoughts on that? I think it's pretty interesting. I think a lot of the stuff's pretty fair. Like, the big two things that I think people are going to get riled up about are obviously that's Eren when he starts being whiny again, and the EMA and the Eren Mikasa kiss stuff. A lot of people really don't like that Eren and Mikasa. And yeah, like, I'm not a huge fan purely because it's toxic. I think it's interesting, but their relationship throughout their life was kind of toxic. Like, Mikasa was pretty devoted, although it's a bit less strong in the manga, to be fair. Maybe my views are being clouded slightly by the anime, making her an absolute fucking simp for Eren and have virtually no agency compared to in the manga. But that's just... It's just media adaptation, having to exaggerate characters so people can remember them better. Yeah. I think most of this is fair, to be honest. I don't think any of it's unfair. Like, the destroy thing is interesting. I wonder if, like, maybe it could be fleshed out more, but I think I get where he's coming from. In that he just likes to turn preconceptions upside down. The whole, it's going to be taken very uncharitably that, Isayama, stuff like Isayama just ruined the ending on purpose because he likes messing with us and stuff, which I don't think is meant to be the interpretation. I think that'd be quite an uncharitable one. Again, maybe I'm just strawmanning the community here a bit. But anything is possible. We can have a quick look at some of the comments, then we'll move on to No Requiem. Can't move on from AOT if every 2 days there's something new to make a meme for. Eren Mika rom-com will be released in 3 days. Oh yeah, I think I heard about this. Apparently there's going to be like a sort of little funny, kind of like the end of volume stuff where it's a completely alternate universe of like Eren and Mikasa as a rom-com. Considering Isayama's gone on record saying he wants to try writing a black comedy at some point, I can see that. I can totally see him testing the waters with this. It'll be interesting, I'm sure. Please just let us die in peace. So the man draw people getting eaten alive, children being brutal, the murder, people being tortured, problems drawing a damn kid. Okay. 3 comments and we have found we have found the everything understander. Okay, there's a different, being shy about drawing certain things. Perhaps people get shy. People get shy about drawing about different things. Things make different people uncomfortable. Isayama is clearly a bit, perhaps, uncomfortable. I mean, the fact that he's a massive character and it's come to depicting any kind of romance, intimacy, or relationships in AOT throughout the entire series speaks volume. It's a fucking meme about how much of a coward he is when it comes to drawing stuff like that. So, is there any real surprise that he did he end up feeling a bit too shy to draw the kiss, especially if he didn't feel confident trying to depict the following relationship, because a kiss wouldn't have just happened in a vacuum. There would have been consequences from that. Eren and Mikasa would have presumably formed a relationship, and Isayama would have had to spend the next however many chapters depicting that relationship, which would only end, again, presumably with the Mikasa "I've always hated you" scene. So, like, yeah, drawing some things are just easier to draw than others. Drawing someone being killed, you draw that. That's it. You draw that and move on. Drawing the kiss would have then resulted in the... It should be illegal to iron your brain, honestly. Yamiro, good meme. Still don't understand how spending eternity in Path and mass murder didn't change Eren. It did. Like, well, I mean, we saw the future, it changed. I mean, yeah, he spent time in Paths, and he was still changed. It was only at the very end where we got to see some of the elements of him. When it comes across to him being Mikasa's biggest fan, it's weird that he felt kind of undeveloped. This is a fair point. Mikasa was pretty underdeveloped as a character for a lot of the story. She was a main character mostly because of how much time she spent in the story. She was kind of cool. Her design was pretty cool, but yeah, no, that's a pretty fair comment. But Mikasa became like an A or S tier character by the end. When us to draw panels of the past future main characters are either dead or haven't been born. Either I'm missing something which means that Yams are straight trolling us. In the past, they're not born yet. Let's draw panels of the past future. I think it's meant to mean whether you consider a character actually dead if they can still, I think this is meant to just talk about how we relate to fictional characters more than anything else. Like, they're not dead because they never... I guess they're not dead because they never existed in the first place, if you want to get into that kind of... This is the intellectual powerhouse of AOT discourse. Not to mention everything that I've just mentioned before about the difference in how people will find drawing some things more difficult than others. This happens a long time after this. And after this point, Yams got married. Yams started getting more confident in his ability to depict complex themes and complex characters and other certain stuff. So if this is the kind of thing he'd have had trouble with back when this happened, he possibly didn't have trouble with it when it did happen, because a lot happens in those God knows how many years, 6, 7 years between these two events. Oh no, don't give award. Ugh, no, give award. Take is like ridiculous. Honest. Ugh, please no more. Oh, Joker flock. I wonder how many people have that unironically. Need a full interview, damn it. There must be more than just EMA. I would quite like a sort of full... I'm really hoping that he does get to sit down and have like a full sort of deep dive interview with someone. That'd be pretty cool. Looks like Salt is back on the menu, boys. Mikasa, to be fair, the Mikasa shit is hilarious as well. So she liked him that much but never actually said it, and then the families owned him when presented the opportunity, Lamau. Different people have different ways. Mikasa was afraid of losing what she had if she admitted the truth. Mikasa had lost everything. She'd lost, she'd lost her mother. She'd lost her mom and dad. She'd lost her home, her entire life. She was taken in by the Jaegers. Of course, she fell in love with Eren, but she couldn't risk that because she couldn't risk losing him. And especially after the attack on Shiganshina, when she lost even more people she cared about. She lost, Eren's mum died. Dr. Jaeger disappeared. And then she lost friends in the training corps. Every step of the way, it became harder and harder because she was losing the people around her. She couldn't admit it because she was terrified of losing it if Eren didn't feel the same way. Falco had nothing to lose because he was pretty aware he was about to turn into a Titan and die. That's why he was so readily able to admit it and why he did it so candidly. These are in two entirely different... This sub is... Why is this sub so fucking popular? Why did 500 people think this was a good comment? Isayama got married and then wrote the worst relationship in manga history. It was a toxic relationship. It wasn't... I mean, there were some terrible elements. The relationship was toxic. That doesn't mean it was badly written. There were elements that weren't great, and I think it could have been fleshed out more, perhaps, but... Another Joker flock. Funny that. Incels rise up. The more Yams talks, the worse AOT gets. We're entering J.K. Rowling territory here. This would be an almost interesting statement. I think there is definite credence to the idea of an author trying too hard to fit stuff in, but Yams, I find Yams is usually contextualizing on stuff that was kind of the stuff was already there a bit, but just never really elaborated on, whilst J.K. Rowling was literally adding stuff in for to try and win liberal brownie points. So, which she then lost when it turned out she was a massive TERF. Actually, no, TERF's unfair, because TERF implies she was a feminist. It's not. Bruh. Go Bill Johnson, man. He literally come across someone who's completely detached from... Does he? Chat, if anyone comes across detached... Does he? It sounds like he's, like, really... I mean, to me, he's always come across as, like, really attached and really passionate, but also constantly living in, like, a state of fear, but like disappointment in his own abilities to tell the story he wants to tell. How could you write all those interesting characters and stories but still be so fixated on 3 characters, 2 who were almost completely irrelevant post time skip and were buffed in the last 4 chapters, and 1 who was mute for a year and ended up being a crybaby? Shall we read the fan ending? Get mad. 775 upvotes. Get mad. Mold away. Okay, we'll leave that for a little bit. Let's talk AOT no Requiem. Or AOT Requiem. Whatever. I guess it's called no... AOT... Yeah, AOT... I guess it's called AOT no Requiem. Is that like the... Japanese thing? I don't know. About us. Oh, we get to see their... Oh, we've got a fellow Brit working on this. Lovely. About Isayama. Okay. Introduction. Attack on Titan is a Japanese manga series sensitive political social themes like war and nationalism. Sorry, natalism. Isn't that like... Never mind. I shouldn't pick on people for spelling errors. It's just kind of funny. Natalism. Racism, cycle of hatred, psychological traumas, family, and child abuse. There are also some elements that reflect real historical elements, so a great many of these issues really hit close to home. Huge amounts of it. Anyway. After the manga finale, many fans around the world voiced great disappointment and concern. No, a small number of fans around the world voiced great disappointment and concern when such deep and relatable issues were not properly addressed. So, there are certainly elements of that. There are certainly elements I can agree with. The wider themes that Attack on Titan looked like it was trying to convey ended up kind of slipping into the background in favor of exploring the more interpersonal relationships between the characters, which isn't inherently a bad thing. I think it's a bit of a shame that some of the wider themes weren't addressed, but I think there was enough content there, enough open criticism of some of the major areas, such as criticism of nationalism, imperialism, fascism, that it, like, those things are bad. Yes, we know they are, but they are terrible, and the Attack on Titan was very critical of them for a very long time. And yes, it maybe did perhaps drop or perhaps lose sight of continuing to integrate them into the story in favor of telling a more personal story. Like, don't get me wrong, there are issues with the ending, I think. It's not, again, it's a 7, maybe an 8 with the additional material. There were things that could have been improved more. I think talking about the wider stuff, I thought it was kind of interesting that the whole sort of... Oh, welcome back, Bacon. You just missed me going through comments that made me want to... I can't say that thing. I can't say that on Twitch, can I? Comments that made me want to do things in a video game. Yeah. Titanfolk is great. Really wonderful place full of nuanced takes. Anyway, and then we're looking now. You're just in time for no Requiem. Yay. So yeah. So some of these themes, they weren't perhaps explored as strong as they could have been in the finale, which it is a bit of a shame. But again, I think there was some interesting stuff that, even though the rumbling happened, it didn't solve the problems. Now, I know it wasn't the 100% rumbling, and that would have solved all the problems according to the Jaegerists or whatever. But it just goes to show that the rumbling didn't fix anything, because the world still ends up, turning on parody. Because who'd have fucking thought that when you try and genocide huge portions of the world, what? I think there is still some thematic stuff that can be read into. Maybe it requires a bit more sort of analysis than Attack on Titan previously required, because it was always quite open in its themes and its criticisms of real world elements. But Titanfolk has some funny memes, but yeah, some of the comments are very... Titanfolk does have some funny memes. That's why I joined it. So I joined Titanfolk for the memes, and then it turns out that there is a large number of people on there who are just outright fascists, or regularly iron all the wrinkles out of their brain. So, you know, funny memes and all that. But yeah, the big mega thread about the Zekin interview. If you fancy hating yourself, you can go take a look at some of the best comments for that. Because yeah. Anyway, I'm disappointed in when such deep and relatable issues were not properly addressed. In the canon ending, these series and complex themes, character development, and world building were forgotten and reduced to romance and comedic scenes, which goes against the established darker, more serious tone of the series. Hence, the mission of AOT in Requiem is to give those who are unsatisfied with the ending, grew up with the series and held it close to their hearts, a proper closure and also a fitting and satisfactory conclusion to what we all believe was a modern masterpiece. So some people asking Yams to give Eren back the Braves. No, okay, I did cover the Yam stuff and about how like Yam said that's Eren when he started being whiny again, and that's like, you know, an absolutely based fucking comment to make because Eren was always the whiny bitch, and it's great. First time I've had my comment on negative karma in a while. Oh yeah, like I got like suspended from Titanfolk when I called someone who was advocating for the 100% rumbling fascist. Because apparently it's not fascist, I guess, to advocate for genocide of humanity. I don't know. AOT Requiem will explore an alternate ending in opposite to the canon one. It is a rewrite of the last 3 chapters of AOT, 137, 138, 139, and combined into one long chapter updated into parts. So why don't you just release it as multiple chapters then, if you're going to release it in part? We'll still follow the events of the previous chapters, so please continue to support AOT's official release. Thank you. Well, that's nice. Requiem seems like a very specific title. Yeah. I don't really know specifically why they picked it. New beginnings. Disclaimer: all publicly recognized characters. No copyright infringement is intended. Fan fiction. Falls under fair use, being non-commercial, appropriate for concept. Not too sure about this, but let's get into this, shall we? Well, before we do it, again, like, proper closure. I felt a degree of closure. I felt mostly closure. Like, yeah, there were a few elements that would have been nice to wrap up. Again, Historia ended up not being a character, but that's like that's not necessarily a thing. I felt Eren's motivation, even though it wasn't the direction I thought he was going in, and it may not have been the best direction they could have taken him in, it still worked. Requiem's a Catholic mass for the dead, right? Possibly. I'm honestly not entirely. I honestly don't know. You see Requiem in a number of places. Meant to be a Code Geass reference. Honestly couldn't tell you. AOT Requiem Part 1. From my understanding, they claim to have mostly redrawn it. Pat's music. Let's see. Am I going to get copyright claimed for this question? Are they using their own music, or have they've written new music for it, or is it... Okay. Yes, I'll go, we're still young. Okay, so we're getting this stuff again. They're just copy-pasting this. And things began to form. The wife was born. Maybe I just haven't seen this on Requiem as much. I've seen it in a few places. I'm pretty sure. The music was neat. Yeah, it seems alright. And then things began to form. That we call life was born. So time, life began to evolve, and as the conditions changed, it became complex. Life sought more survival, it sought meaning. Weezebeast became arrogant. And is this a direct rip, or have they retweaked this dialogue as well? In spite of all odds, one such accident, life persisted for millennia, refusing to pass on. It waited. Why? For what purpose? Okay, so we're getting Eren and young Eren at the tree where Ymir goes into. Perhaps too, it was waiting for another chance to fight, and never do or maybe it just need to fulfill that instinct, to persevere by pure chance and find a way. Maybe there's no really deeper meaning to this after all. Okay, well that's fine. I think that's fine. I get, yeah, that's fine. I mean, is that what Isayama wrote? I can't even remember. It sounds similar, but I can't remember Zeke's speech very well. But it totally ties into what was already there about basically Ymir's meeting with the source of all dialogue is tweet. Okay. I think it still ties in, though, that Ymir's meeting was entirely by chance. And it was just a single event that kicked off like the long history. It wasn't like any kind of pre-fated thing. Or why history began because one pitiful slave girl defied her master and stumbled into the power that changed everything. Yes, Aaron's friend, that little girl, was her. In her desire to find meaning, she was to survive, and thus became our founder, Ymir. I cannot pretend to understand it all, even after spending all time here, but one thing is for certain about how one may try to fight it. Death is inevitable, so why bother seeking out something arbitrary as meaning at all? All these lives that never need... I wonder if Zeke's going to wake up the Titan Shifters still. Because I don't think Titan folk weren't very happy with that, with Armin's talk no jutsu or whatever it was, all these lives that never need to suffer, all these paths created from arrogance and the desire to defy the very nature of this world. If she just accepted her fate and freed herself from the suffering, as we eventually do, perhaps avoided. Maybe then we might have been spared from this existence. The place was born out of that arrogance, unable to move on from the will of the king. She was banished here to this place, free from death, obeying his desires. Godlike in power, but forever a slave. With this earth, she creates the monsters that destroy and perpetuate the cycles. So this all began because of her, and this is the place free of death. Grizzle's power not used to free herself. She realized the conundrum very good. I spent a standing amount of time here trying to answer that question. Why didn't she exact her revenge on the man and people who enslaved her instead of serving that? Instead of serving them. Maybe she couldn't some kind of condition to her power. I too came to that initial conclusion. Okay, so they're getting... So, yeah, moralizing about Ymir stuff, that's all cool. You know, you like the moralizing, you like the philosophizing, the guesswork. I mean, Zeke's whole thing about basically sitting here playing with sandcastles, trying to figure out the point of everything. It's a pretty good scene. So, you know, small tweaks to that. Not totally opposed. Nothing terrible about that. Just they've got the two of the biggest thinkers in the series reasoning with each other. Watch the history, the less I was convinced this was the case. Power itself was not the issue. It been her will. She was incapable of separating her own desires from that of her abusers, or was there some hidden need to belong? Or was there some hidden need to belong? Was that her meaning? If so, then her suffering truly was great. In the end, Aaron was able to understand her when I couldn't. Hey, themes of understanding. Kyle will be happy. That's why she went with him. He offered her something no one else could give her, and that was that. And that was freedom. Oh god, okay. The Chad has arrived. So is she finally free, you mean? Are we all free now? Not yet. Okay, I'll give them some credit. Some of the art's pretty cool. I don't really... Does this look like Yam's version of Eren? I don't know, I'm getting something a little bit off about how they've drawn this particular adult Eren. But I can't quite pinpoint what it is. You showed her she's not alone anymore. If that's not enough, then what's she waiting for? Okay, Eren creates the memory fragments. For 2,000 long years, she's been waiting for someone to free her soul. It is for this reason you're here. This power has shown me the paths ahead, branches of things that have passed, what could have been, and what can't be changed. The path built on their plans that I reject, leaving only one. When you wake up, you'll forget what you learned, but not what you felt here. This will all feel like a long dream until that moment. Okay, so... yeah, what we're seeing is when Eren woke up crying from the tree, back in chapter 1, he'd obviously seen but forgotten his own death at that point, potentially. Well, it was never truly clear, but it was see you later, Eren, so it was like the moment Mikasa killed him. What we're saying here is that what Eren saw when he touched Historia's hand was all of this, which feels like a bit of a reach, because I'm pretty sure when he touched Historia's hand, he didn't see all the specifics, and he didn't necessarily know why he had to do what he was doing. He knew it would end the Titans, he knew he would die, but he didn't know Ymir's full plan at that point. He didn't see into Ymir, he just saw fragments of what was happening. He wasn't connected to Ymir technically at that point. That didn't happen until he reached, like, I think... Unless I'm misunderstanding something, I always feel there's like this misunderstanding of the difference of what Eren saw when he touched Historia's hand, kissed Historia's hand, and what he saw after he connected with Ymir. I think those were two very different things. When he touched Historia's hand, he just saw fragments of the future, and that was it, because what he saw the memories that he, his future self, sent to Grisha via Grisha's memories of the past, because I don't think the Founding Titan can actually send memories to themselves. That's never actually been established. They can send memories to past inheritors, but not necessarily to themselves. There's no evidence to counter that from what I can think of, but there's no evidence to claim that either. It's just speculation based on the rules that have been established within the world. So Eren kind of Eren's workaround was to see Grisha's past memories of him seeing Eren's future memories, which is a way of doing it, I guess. But so yeah, Eren saw fragments within fragments, basically. He saw the fragments of his dad. He saw his dad's memory, which would have been fragmented, and his dad got the future memories, which would also have been fragmented. So that's what led to seeing only shards of what was to come, small pieces that maybe didn't quite make sense, but was enough to instill that existential horror within him. But he did see some key things. He saw the end of the Titans. He saw his own death. He saw the rumbling. And Eren's always sought freedom, so there are elements of that that probably he didn't want to contest. And I guess as years went on, he became less and less able to change what he believed. Less and less able to change the future. Basically, that's when he became to accept it, and that's, we saw him get more distance, we saw him get more aggressive as he started pushing more and more towards what he knew was going to happen. And I'd seen all that and knew it was inevitable. You'd have to fight pretty hard to force yourself to let it happen if you wanted to force yourself to let it happen. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling a bit at this point, but I feel like there's sometimes that conflation between Eren's sort of omnipotence, but between when he kissed Historia's hand and when he actually gained the powers of the Founder, or when he actually fully unlocked the powers of the Founder. His powers show me the paths ahead, branches of things that have passed, what could have been, what can't be changed. Oh, okay. Well, at least wasn't that from the fake leaked panel or something? What could have been, and the path built, and their plans that I reject, leaving only one. And Eren didn't see this when he touched Historia's hand back there. They said they're only rewriting the last 3 chapters, but I'm pretty sure they're rewriting a lot more than this by doing all this stuff. When you wake up, you'll forget what you learned, but not what you felt here. Yeah, until that moment. Only then will you begin to understand. I've walked through these planes for what felt like eternity. Like our brother, I tried to see and understand. This is kind of cool. Like, I like some of the art stuff that's going on here. Like, I really like the shattering of the paths to reveal the shards. That's pretty cool. I'll give credit where credit's due. You can understand. I've walked through these planes for like an eternity, like I've tried to understand. Through the combined power of the attack of Founding Titans, I learned to control what I saw. I could see the results of all their plans. I saw peace, but also endless destruction. Then again, actually, if he is, and he's still sending memories to his past self. Technically, again, I don't know. Chat, if you've got any thoughts on this, please chime in. I'm not too sure about sending memories to themselves. I thought it was something strictly between the inheritors. Other inheritors. I saw peace, but also endless destruction over and over again, with no end in sight. Seeing it, I knew I had to be the one to change things and end the cycle of hatred once and for all. At first, I tried to save the ones dearest to me, but trying to change the flow of paths. I tried to change the flow of paths, so I even tried to stop some things from happening. But I realized that to achieve one goal, sacrifice was unavoidable. To assert our birthright. I guess they're talking about freedom in this case. Birthright is a very, very, very not good word to ever use. I'm prepared to sacrifice the world. The arm, and I'll keep moving forward until my enemies are destroyed. We get this nice little we get this sort of nice little composition of everything. And that's part 1. We'll just go through this, then we'll go back through the chapter. I never expected this project to blow up the way it did, and I've said so before, but wow, really hits hard seeing the hard work of the team that came together to decide to make this dream a reality. Well, we've received a lot of hate and even death threats. Don't send death threats, that's really not cool. Quite a lot of people doing their best to scare us to stop. Like, criticize and all that. Criticize because there's definitely elements worthy of criticism, both in terms of why this exists and also its content. But yeah, stuff like actual death threats, any kind of stuff like that, that's definitely a no-no. The support we got really helped us push forward. I'll be honest, at brief moments some of us wavered. Even I had a moment where I laid in bed, staring at my ceiling and wondering maybe it's better to just let this go and move on. That moment came, and then I sat up, looked at the wave. Jesus Christ. Wave of messages coming through. Through all the hate, I looked at the comments shouting for us to keep going, so I gripped my teeth, grabbed my pen. Fuck, this is getting kind of performative here. Project Ishimiyama was wounded, angry, betrayed, all the adjectives. Then I saw how my nephew looked so terribly disappointed by the ending, and the motivation morphed into making an ending that would be excited to read back on and enjoy. And the vision expanded to all of you, to my team, to myself. I wanted an ending I'd be excited to read through, and with the help of every single writer, artist, editor, and revisionist on my team, I'm excited to say that it's already coming along incredibly. I can tell you all with certainty we wouldn't be here if we didn't love, respect this work of art that is Attack on Titan, regardless of other opinions. That is our true feelings, and no amount of shouts and accusations will change that. I don't deny that these people love Attack on Titan. I believe that they maybe don't get... I mean, I understand. Probably some of them do get the ending, they just don't like it anyway. Again, totally valid. If you don't like the ending, you know, you can do that. I think the ending's fine. I think there are elements that could be improved. I don't think going down Chad Eren route, where Eren is going to be the big savior or whatever, but you never know. They could throw a spanner in the works. Now, for those you wanting to spam our work and harass Kodansha, Mappa, and Isayama, don't. We've worked hard. We also understand this, in fact, this is a work of fanfiction. Okay, well, that's good. That's good that they're fully on acknowledging that this is and always will be fanfiction. This isn't going to change the canon events from canon. This isn't going to suddenly be canon, and we just want to provide a good ending, provide an alternative ending, and allow many others to enjoy the series and move on to other things should the time come. Please, for the sake of our hard work, don't harass others with this. So that's good. Is that it, really? Where's the rest? Our Historia looking at the letter. Never fear, part 1 is far from over. There's definitely more on the way soon. Some of you are probably disappointed that it's not a lot of pages to read, and I feel you, but please keep in mind a lot of us have school and full-time jobs outside of this project. A lot of us deal with the burnout. So no, we are truly working hard to bring this level of quality to you. Like, I'll give them credit. Compared to what I originally thought was going to be coming, the art's actually not too bad. It's pretty consistent throughout. It looks pretty faithful to Isayama's style. But there's enough variation there. You can tell that you can tell it's not, but... Announcements. Full chapter will very likely be close to 100 plus pages. We intend to reach out to more artists to help us in our endeavors. So if you're interested in helping, drop your samples in our DMs on Instagram and Twitter. Many hands make light work, so we encourage those of you who are ready to jump in to come help. We'll be screening artists throughout, so please don't take it personally if you don't get chosen. We may have other options for you to do. Please make sure to follow up. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so... do we have thoughts, chat? You know... So yeah, some tweaked dialogue never goes amiss. There are definitely times when the dialogue isn't like 10 out of 10. Zeke's explanation to Armin was pretty good from what I remember. I can't remember the specifics. Like, there's definitely an interesting idea here of like Eren and child Eren. Like, I can understand where they're coming from. I don't think it quite fits just going purely off the rules of the world, but also, writers can sometimes break the rules of the world if they want, if it leads to the better story. We'll need to see. But yeah, I'm not too sold on this being a big Eren-centric, Eren is the hero sort of thing. It looks like it could potentially be going like Eren has planned, yeah, and to assert our birthright, I'm prepared to sacrifice the world. That is like really, that reads really fucking fashy. And I don't know if the project lead is a Jaegerist or not. I don't know if they're a fascist. Probably not. They might just be an idiot. But this just reads really... sacrifice was unavoidable. And again, it's kind of like, seeing things that could have been. And he knew I had to want to change things. But... that's over and over. So yeah, this is the thing. This is going down the route of the only way to ensure world peace is to destroy the world sort of thing. And that's like, no. That's bullshit. Absolutely. You can almost guarantee that this isn't going to have some kind of critical thing about the Jaegerist takeover of parody at the end. Like, there are elements, as I said, that I like what they're trying to do. I like they try and bring in Child Eren, even if it doesn't make too much sense. The whole, that being the whole thing. You won't see this until you kiss Sora's hand. This sort of imagery is kind of cool. This bit's kind of this is kind of cool. They're really, really working too hard on trying to make Eren like this absolute fucking Chad. I don't know. there's some interesting stuff. I don't think there's enough off of this one to really get a solid "this is terrible." I don't think it's necessarily terrible. I don't think it even necessarily will be terrible. I think it might miss the point a little bit. Oh, it may be good. I'm open to that idea. For sure. I mean, I still have a lot of, Isayama still has a lot of goodwill for me, because even if we assume that the final chapter was terrible, even if we assume that the final chapter was just a complete swing and a miss, that doesn't necessarily invalidate 138 good chapters that preceded it. I mean, obviously some of them probably, you know what I mean, like the entire series that preceded it. The story isn't overall completely destroyed by it. Yeah, it can be a bit of a letdown for some people, and I totally get that, and I understand the desire for wanting to have this alternative look at it, but at the end of the day, I didn't think it was bad. Just a few misses here and there. But I could have also gone for like 2 more chapters. Probably 2 more maybe 2 more chapters could have been cool. But again, like, I'm only sort of strengthened by that Isayama interview where he said that Eren's back with the whole whiny Eren side. Like, the fact that that's Eren 4 just puts more strength to the idea that, yeah, Eren was kind of, I guess, was kind of like a slave to fate. And Eren wasn't the main character, which I'm sure I've heard Isayama say in an interview before, though I could be making that up. Or it was something like he was surprised at how many people took to Eren for a while, because I don't think he had I don't know if he necessarily had a slot plan. Again, he sort of said he had some of the broad strokes mapped out, but would change it as he went. But there we go. That's Aotina Requiem Part 1, I guess, and we'll no doubt do another one of these when Part 2 drops, and Part 3 and Part 4 and whatever else. I think this could be interesting, some stuff to talk about. There's some ideas, there's ideas here at play that I think could be interesting. Anyway, so enough of this.